Berlin appears on the individual calendar for the first time since 2000 as round 3 of the 2016 FIM Ice Speedway World Championship comes to Germany. It's a home return for the European Gladiators, who now hope to make gains on the championship leaders in the 3 remaining rounds. The Medeu Stadium was the venue as the riders returned to Kazakhstan for round 2 of the series. The second event of the campaign marked the return to form of Daniil Ivanov, who dropped just 2 points all weekend and reignited his title bid. Egor Mishkovets slipped behind Ivanov in the standings after a disappointing weekend in Almaty. He crashed out twice on day 1 and failed to card a double-figure tally in either meeting. Ivanov's colours were lowered for the first time in Heat 8, with Igor Kononov and Dmitry Koltakov matching his 14-point heat score. The duel between the two continued through the semi-finals as Ivanov got the better of his rival and moved back to the top of the standings. Kononov had the final word with a victory that marked an utter turnaround. Underperformance in Almaty 2015 cost him a championship challenge. 2016 success moved him second in the series standings. Igor Kononov gained 5 crucial points on Dmitry Koltakov in Almaty to narrow the gap at the top of the championship to 4. After a disappointing close to day 1, Koltakov had a challenging start to day 2 in Kazakhstan. Beaten by Igor Kononov in Heat 5, Koltakov suffered a heavy impact in Heat 12 that dented his scoring through the heat stages. He recovered to make the final but won just 2 of his final 4 rides. Dmitry Kovatsevich was left 9 points back from Koltakov after his disqualification in the final. Igor Kononov was invited back for the restart after Kovatsevich was judged the cause of a crash in the first staging. He was unable to match the resurgent Daniil Ivanov, who went unbeaten from 7 outings and claimed the first maximum score since 2014. 9 points separate the top 4 coming into Berlin, with Egor Mishkovets slipping back and Franz Horn 11 points clear of Stefan Svensson in the race to finish as top European. With varying levels of experience, Sweden's Daniel Henderson, Niklas Svensson and Ove Ledstrom have embarked on their first full seasons as World Championship riders in 2016. It's exciting to be here and at the starting line against 15 of the world's top riders. These meetings demand your top speed. You're against the best. I don't see that I have any hope against the Russian riders, but I try my best to hold on to them and to learn from their riding. Competing against the European riders is more fun, because that's where you can score at least a few points. I'm most excited to meet the Russians because they're so professional in the pits and out on the track. Every time you're out against them, you learn how they ride. The 3 Swedish youngsters challenge on 3 separate fronts to beat one another and take a place in the top 10, to chase the 6th position and become top European rider, and eventually to close in on the Russians. I don't compare myself to anyone else. I just concentrate on myself, on doing things my way and competing at 100%. I don't come here thinking I will beat the other European riders, but I'm here to try and to learn. I don't ever expect to be world champion either. The Russians are too strong, but I hope that I'll eventually be one of the top European riders. I just need more experience.
Det tror jag väl inte, men att vara bästa europé kanske ska inte vara omöjligt.
To be the world's best rider would be a dream, but I think it's unattainable. The Russian riders are too good, and it would take a lot of work to beat them. In my first year, it's just about learning, but in the end, I want to be world champion. I would have no other reason to race. That's what I'm here for. The Horse-Dom Eisstadion staged its first World Championship final in 1983 when Helmut Weber and Max Niedermayer Sr. scored the bulk of the points for Germany in their first ever team success. The sons of Helmut and Max are cheered on by the local crowd for the first European event in 2016. Germany are represented by 4 riders in Berlin, with Stefan Pletschaka returning from illness, Max Niedermayer retaining his place in the lineup as cover for the injured Manfred Siefter, and Hans Weber taking to the track as the wildcard.
Ist eine solche Tradition.
Heat 1 saw Egor Mischkowetz get off to a perfect start, getting the better of Stefan Svensson and Max Niedermayer in the opener. Hans Weber was left at the tapes before eventually getting the bike going and was left too far back to challenge as his return to the championship suffered a stuttering start. Franz Zorn was the fast starter in Heat 2 but was quickly overhauled by Igor Kononov on the way to a second consecutive Russian race victory. Kononov moved to within a point of the championship lead with his success. Meanwhile, Günther Bauer held third until the final lap, when he was overhauled at the back by Daniel Henderson. The race for 10th in the championship was reignited in Berlin with the absence of knee injury victim Manfred Siefter. The 4 main contenders all stepped up their pace on the series' return to Europe. Not one of the home representatives managed a top 2 finish in round 1, Stefan Pletschaka joining Max Niedermayer on a single point after his overtake on Antiaco for 3rd in Heat 3. Best of the round 1 heat races saw overtaking at the front and at the back. Dmitry Koltakov passed Dmitry Kometsevich for the lead at the end of lap 2, while Nicholas Svensson simultaneously overhauled Jan Klatowski for the single point. The Swede held 3rd position to the finish, but Koltakov's lead was surrendered coming into the final lap. A valuable victory for Kometsevich and a demoralising start to the European campaign for Koltakov on the back of an underwhelming weekend in Almaty. Four Russian winners in the opening 4 races, with only Dmitry Koltakov missing out. The top 3 Europeans in the championship all finished 2nd in their opening outings to lead the chase.
Ja, vielen Dank für die Gelegenheit, heute hier sein zu dürfen.
Geht's natürlich ab. Die Speedway Bundesliga im letzten Jahr waren 6 Clubs.
After finishing at the back of the pack in round 1, Günther Bauer put in a more spirited effort in Heat 5. The German swept past Antiaco at the end of lap 1 to leave the Finn pointless from 2 rides and put in a strong but ultimately fruitless attack on Stefan Svensson to the close of the heat. After carving his way immaculately past 2 of his rivals on the opening lap of Heat 6, Daniel Henderson's day took a turn for the worse with an alarming spill from 1st position. After an attacking start to the meeting, the Swedes scored just 3 points more all weekend. In the restart, Hans Weber provided the entertainment in his duel with Stefan Pletschaka, and the 2 Germans moved level on points with 2 apiece. Egor Mischkowetz attempted another of his from-the-back efforts in Heat 7, but was eventually restricted to a single point from his round 2 heat. The Russian picked his way past Ove Ledstrom on lap 2 before setting off in pursuit of Franz Zorn. Mischkowetz then made his move with a perfect cutback off turn 2 on the final lap. But an acute angle into turn 3 sent him across the turn, and Zorn simply repaid the compliment and won back second place in a photo finish. Daniil Ivanov moved above Igor Kononov in the provisional championship standings after taking victory when the two went head-to-head at the close of round 2. Kononov was never in contention for victory, but held a comfortable second over Niklas Svensson and Max Niedermayer. Two riders remained unbeaten after 2 rounds of heat races. Daniil Ivanov's Heat 8 victory moving him level with Dmitry Kometsevich on 6. A 2-point gap emerged between the lead Europeans and the outsiders chasing a place in the top 8. After scoring just a single point from his opening 2 rides, Niklas Svensson brought himself back into contention with a hard-fought win from an entertaining all-Swedish Heat 9. The youngster had taken the whole shot before losing the lead to Daniel Henderson on lap 2, while his father Stefan was also overhauled at the back by Ove Ledstrom. Fighting back to the inside on lap 3 though, Niklas found a way through to relegate his fellow countryman to second and take his first checkered flag of the season. Unbeaten riders Daniil Ivanov and Dmitry Kometsevich went head-to-head in Heat 10, but Kometsevich left himself with too much work to do after an unenviable start from gate 3. Pushed aside by the fast-starting Ivanov, Kometsevich was forced initially back to third before overhauling Günther Bauer at the end of the opening lap. Antiako scored his first point of the day in Heat 11, getting the better of Jan Klatowski on the final lap. The result was the first of 2 consecutive last places for the Czech that threatened his semi-final participation after such a strong start to the meeting. There were no major upsets at the close of round 3 as Dmitry Koltukov took a comfortable taste-to-flag success from the inside gate. Franz Zorn took a 3rd consecutive second place, with Stefan Pletschaka beating his fellow countryman Max Niedermayer to 3rd. 3 riders tied on 8 points behind unbeaten early matchday leader Daniil Ivanov. Meanwhile, with Jan Klatowski and Stefan Svensson both suffering non-scoring rides in round 3, the race for the final 2 qualification positions was reignited. Stefan Svensson moved above Jan Klatowski and into a provisional qualification position after beating the Czech in Heat 13. The Swedish champion used all of his experience to craft a cutback move at the end of the second lap after swarming on the back of Klatowski throughout the early stages. Luca Bauer made his World Championship debut as a replacement for Hans Weber in Heat 14, but failed to make an impact against 3 of the top 7 in the championship standings. Dmitry Koltukov took a 3rd consecutive race win as he confirmed his place in the semi-finals. Egor Mishkovets took his 2nd race victory of the day after recovering from 3rd position in Heat 15. Pushed aside on the first turn, the Russian quickly overhauled Günther Bauer for 2nd, but it took him the best part of 3 laps to get the better of Niklas Svensson for the win. Set to line up against 3 Russian riders in his final outing, Daniel Henderson needed a big result from Heat 16 after his earlier disqualification. But instead, the Swede took another heavy impact, was narrowly avoided by Max Niedermayer, and remained on 3 points from 4 rides.
mit dabei sein kann, disqualifiziert die Helfer.
Dmitry Kometsevich booked his semi-final place with a win in the restaging. Akko and Niedermeyer in the minor placings looked resigned to spectating on the final 8.
Und dann kommt der Zieleinlauf, die 900.
2 points separated 7 riders in their battle for the final qualification position. The 6 front-runners, including the 5 lead Russians, already had their top 8 place secured with a round of heats to spare. Dmitry Kometsevich completed his heat programme with just 1 dropped point from 5 rides after victory over Igor Kononov. Stefan Svensson taking a point from 3rd, and after a surprise last place back in Heat 9, he would be waiting on results of the 3 remaining heats to secure his top 8 position. Niklas Svensson booked his semi-final space with 2nd behind Franz Zorn in Heat 18. The Austrian took his first race victory of the meeting to move through to the semi-finals as a double-figure scorer. Daniil Ivanov's toughest test of the heat stages came in round 5 as he lined up alongside Egor Mishkovets and Dmitry Koltukov. But Ivanov jetted away for a 5th consecutive race win to head unbeaten into the last 8.
Zunächst gleich auf, aber Dmitry Koltukov, der zieht durch und setzt sich.
3 riders with a chance of snatching the last semi-final space from Stefan Svensson lined up for Heat 20. Ove Ledstrom was the favourite and he carved his way quickly from 3rd to 1st. But the young Swede crashed out from the lead at the end of the 2nd lap and his hopes of progression were dashed. Now with the scent of a semi-final space in front of his home crowd, Günther Bauer capitalised on the inside start position to take an early lead. But progression for the home representative relied on Jan Klosowski slipping up, and Max Niedermeyer was nowhere near finding a way past into 2nd. Günther Bauer and Stefan Svensson were unfortunate to miss out on the semi-finals on countback. Ove Ledstrom also failed to progress for the 2nd time in a row after his round 5 disqualification.
Die Nummer 100, Frankie Zorn aus Österreich.
Ist scharf hier.
Just one of the last 8 races have been won from the inside gate. Pre-race favourite Daniil Ivanov goes off gate 1 for the first of the 2 semi-finals. Ivanov off the inside start position then. Gate 2 is with Igor Kononov. Gate 3 in the white helmet colour, Egor Mishkovets. Completing the lineup off the outside gate, it's Niklas Svensson. Fast start off gate 2 from Igor Kononov. Daniil Ivanov trying to find his way back to the inside. Svensson competitive in the early stages, eventually overhauled by Egor Mishkovets, who moves into 3rd and into an attacking position with the 2 favourites leading the way. It's red, blue, white, yellow as they complete the opening lap. Daniil Ivanov back up to the outside line. That's where Igor Kononov would like to be. His line is being covered off by the former world champion out in front. Daniil Ivanov very much back on form, dropped just 2 points in 2 days in Almaty. He's been unbeaten through the heats today and doesn't look like dropping anything either in this first semi-final. Egor Mishkovets starting to make up some ground now on Igor Kononov. Kononov beaten by both Ivanov and Kometsevich in the heats. Expected to progress though nonetheless from this one. He is going to be under attack in the closing stages here. Mishkovets bobbles back down into turns 1 and 2, but he's got the faster inside run into the final 2 turns. He backs out of it. He's going to try and square off turn 4, but Kononov has the pace, and Igor Kononov will move through alongside Daniil Ivanov to today's grand final at the expense of Egor Mishkovets and first-time semi-final rider Niklas Svensson, who fails to score, and to baptism of fire really in the semi-finals there for Niklas Svensson, who finishes out at the back. So Mishkovets and Svensson eliminated, Ivanov and Kononov marching on. Dmitry Kometsevich goes off the inside start position in red. 4 victories in 5 races so far today. Dmitry Koltakov it is who lines up alongside him off gate 2 in blue. Franz Zorn goes off gate 3 in white, and Jan Klosowski off the outside in yellow. Fairly level start there, but it is the rider in the blue helmet colour who just about nudges around the outside of Dmitry Kometsevich, who fights back into the pit's bend to take the lead. So it's Kometsevich from Koltakov in second, suffering there on the top turn from the rough track surface as he tries to gain in ground on Dmitry Kometsevich. Dmitry Koltakov dropped just 2 points during the heat stages. Dmitry Kometsevich fared 1 point better with 14, and Franz Zorn very much on the pace during the heat stages is now dropping back from the front 2 in this semi-final, and the outsider Jan Klosowski, who squeezed in on countback with just 6 points in the heat stages, is going to finish out at the back here, barring any miracles for the Czech in last position. Into the final lap then, Dmitry Kometsevich taking a good look over his shoulder to see that Dmitry Koltakov is still in pursuit. Doesn't look as though his fellow countryman is going to find a way through, although he did gain in large amounts of ground there coming off turn number 2, and Koltakov is going to try and square it off coming out of turn number 4, and he pulls alongside, and that's close in the run down to the line. But Dmitry Kometsevich, for my money, just about gets there. Very close run into the finish between Dmitry Kometsevich and Dmitry Koltakov. Koltakov making masses of ground on the final lap there to give a photo finish race against Dmitry Kometsevich. 3 points going to Kometsevich with Koltakov in second. Franz Zorn and Jan Klosowski eliminated from semi-final 2. 3 of 2016's 4 meeting winners line up for the final here in Berlin. Daniil Ivanov will become the championship leader if he can beat Dmitry Koltakov here. Ivanov it is who goes off the inside start position. 6 wins out of 6, the favourite. Dmitry Kometsevich goes off gate 2 in blue, the winner of the second semi-final, and today's points leader coming into the final. Gate 3 in the white helmet colour is Dmitry Koltakov, the championship leader, yet to win a final this season. That's something he'd like to turn around in Berlin. And the outside start position in the yellow helmet colour is with Igor Kononov, the day 1 winner last time out in Almaty. It's Ivanov, Kometsevich, Koltakov and Kononov for the final. Kononov makes the fastest start off the outside. He's going to try and run all the way around the outside of the other 3 competitors. It's Kometsevich who picks up the lead down the back straight for the first time. Kononov still insistent on his outside run. Comes under pressure from Daniil Ivanov, who cuts his way through in a block pass for second position. So it's Kometsevich leading the way then. Daniil Ivanov starting to stalk his rival. Dmitry Koltakov has come through for third up the inside of Igor Kononov, who after an impressive start has just gone backwards. Ivanov now trying to find a way through on the inside of Kometsevich, who goes defensive back into turn 1. That will give Ivanov the inside line coming off turn 2, and Ivanov pulls alongside and past across the front of Kometsevich, who bobbles into the pit's turn. Tries to find the inside line himself, but won't be able to. Ivanov is covering it off. Daniil Ivanov then leading the way on towards a maximum. Looking for his 7th race victory out of 7. Covers across the inside of Dmitry Kometsevich. Oh, Ivanov's gone down! Ivanov into the bales on the final turn. Looked like taking a maximum score, and he's given it away. He hit a rut going into the turn. It carried him across the corner, and he just lost the back end straight into the bales and lost the race and meeting victory here in Berlin. Well, that will settle the 3 podium finishers then, with Daniil Ivanov failing to make it to the finish, and it's Dmitry Kometsevich who inherits a very fortunate race victory on the final 2 turns. Just keeping up the pressure on Daniil Ivanov, who then made the error and went down. So nothing at all from the final for Daniil Ivanov. It's Dmitry Kometsevich who bags the 3 race points and the meeting win. Ivanov's last bend fall costing him the chance to take the lead of the championship, but he nonetheless outscores series leader Dmitry Koltakov. Dmitry Kometsevich takes the gift to record his best tally of the season. I have to say that today was not the easiest day for me. I have some problems with sickness that affected my reactions and fitness. It's hard to go through a race in this physical condition, but I tried my best and I had a bit of luck to make the podium. Anyway, it's a long way to the end of the season, so let's see what happens. The whole team was giving its very best today, and we worked really well together. Daniil was also very strong and took some points from me, so in the end I was lucky to recover something from the meeting. It's still all to play for, so we'll fight to the end. I dropped only 1 point today. This podium is very important for me. Of course, tomorrow will be another day. The ice will be even worse than today and the conditions will be a little bit different. Tomorrow's races will show us how the weekend is going to go. Franz Zorn makes up 1 point on Egor Miškovec in his race for 5th position, and behind Stefan Svensson consolidates his 7th place. With Dmitry Kometsevic outscoring the 3 riders above him in the series, the gap between the top 4 overall closes further still. 6 points now separate Dmitry Koltakov from his 3 fellow countrymen, and at the season's halfway point the battle looks set to go right to the final event. Custom-made spiked tyres are undoubtedly what gives ice speedway its biggest element of danger and earns the riders the tag of gladiators. But they're also essential to racing successfully on ice.
This
is my front wheel. It has 120 28mm spikes, which are essential for grip and safety on the ice. This is my back wheel. I have 180 spikes here. On this tyre, the pressure is really important. If the setup isn't right, it can create a lot of problems on the track. The danger presented by the spikes means we have a special protective guard which runs over the tyre and towards the track surface. This stops the body from being too vulnerable in the event of a crash and is therefore very important. There's also safety protection for the left leg, which comes very close to the spikes. The spikes must be made of a very strong material so that they don't break. In terms of the tyres, the rear requires the most setup adjustment, depending on how well the track is holding up. Each tyre lasts just 3 races before it needs to be replaced.
Circa 3 Rennen, dann können wir es wegschmeißen.
Having outscored Dmitry Koltakov in 3 consecutive meetings, Daniil Ivanov sat just 3 points behind the championship leader at the season's halfway point. The former champion had missed an opportunity to seize top spot in the table with a costly day 1 fall. Yesterday was a good race, but I had some trouble in the final when my back wheel slipped. I can't be happy about yesterday because I didn't make the podium, but I did gain a point on Dmitry Koltakov, who now only leads by 3. So I'm optimistic of more good results in the future. Austria's Franz Zorn has gradually opened ground over his fellow Europeans and enters a battle for 5th at the mid-season stage. It was a good day for us yesterday. I feel like my speed has gone up since leaving Russia, now that we're home and we've made some modifications to the bike. In my 5th ride, I changed the setup of the back suspension and it was much better. So for today, we'll be a lot stronger. My starting was good, so I just need to push forward now.
Schauen wir, wie es heute läuft. Also heute wird sicher noch mal ein hartes Rennen.
Igor Kononov und mit dem gelben Helm die Startnummer 9.
Igor Kononov sprinted clear for a race victory in Heat 1, with Egor Miškovec racing Daniel Henderson over 2nd. The Russian forced his way past on lap 1, and the gaps gradually extended between the riders over the course of the race. Heat 2 was a more competitive affair. Fast-starting Dmitry Kometsevic had his hands full with Daniil Ivanov, who found a way through down the inside on lap 1. Dmitry Kometsevic attempted to repay the compliment with his favoured tight run off the turns, but Ivanov had the pace to sprint clear to the race victory and move joint top of the championship classification. After just a 2-point score on day 1, Hans Weber had a more competitive meeting second time around. The German sold Jan Kotowski a dummy with 2 full laps on the outside before diving through for a block pass into lap 3. Ove Ledstrom was subdued throughout the weekend in Berlin compared to such a strong start to the campaign, and after his day one crash was understandably subpar in the early stages of the second meeting. The Swede picked his way past Antti Akko on lap 2 for third, but failed to reach Günther Bauer as the German took second behind Franz Zorn. Two defeated Russians in round one, with Egor Mishkovets beaten by Igor Kononov and Dmitry Kometsevich bested by Daniil Ivanov. Franz Zorn, Stefan Svensson and Günther Bauer led the European chase provisionally inside the top 8.
Günther Bauer, zweiter mit dem amtlichen Kennzeichen.
Max Niedermayer put in his best ride of the weekend to take second behind predictable Heat 5 winner Egor Mishkovets. From third to first, the Russian swept around Antti Akko before darting for the inside on Niedermayer to lead. After a poor start from the outside gate, Jan Klotowski took 3 laps to get back into the race. The Czech closed with an inside line around turns 1 and 2 before making a block pass on the pits bend to seize the single point. Franz Zorn remained unbeaten after 2 opening races with all European lineups. The Austrian took a comfortable race win over Niklas Svensson, who moved back inside the top 8 with second. Günther Bauer dropped out of the top 8 as he trailed in at the back in Heat 7. Stefan Svensson moved above the German in the standings with third place in his round 2 heat, while Igor Kononov suffered his first defeat of the day. Dmitry Koltakov failed to keep pace with the meeting leaders as he dropped his first points of the afternoon in a hard-fought Heat 8. Overhauled by Koltakov after a mistake on lap 2, Kometsevich remained the faster of the 2 Russians and forced his way back past around his favoured inside line a lap later. Koltakov pursued to the finish, but Kometsevich held the curb well to take the checkered flag. After 2 rounds of heat races, Daniil Ivanov remained unbeaten, with the 4 other Russian riders taking points from one another and tied on 5. Franz Zorn had beaten 6 European competitors to top the standings, with Sweden's Stefan and Niklas Svensson tied going into their Heat 9 matchup.
For the riders in heat number 9.
Ove Ledstrom's disappointing weekend continued as he took the whole shot but went from first to last in his round 3 heat. The Swede went defensive in an unsuccessful attempt to keep Egor Mishkovets behind him, and as the Russian came through on the outside anyway, Niklas Svensson had been presented a perfect inside run to come past as well. As Ledstrom then attempted to gain back lost ground on the outside, he made himself vulnerable to inside attack from Stefan Svensson and slipped to the back. With just 2 points from 3 rides, Ledstrom would need strong scores from his final 2 outings to make the semi-finals. Max Niedermayer, Günther Bauer and Daniel Henderson had just 5 points between them coming into round 3, so Bauer's second place over Niedermayer was crucial in keeping his semi-final hopes alive. Day 1 winner Dmitry Kometsevich dropped a second point of the meeting at the expense of Igor Kononov in an entertaining Heat 11 battle. The smallest of errors from Kometsevich on lap 2 gave Kononov the opportunity to strike and take a second victory of the day. Daniil Ivanov returned to the top of the leaderboard and remained unbeaten with victory in Heat 12. Antti Akko and Stefan Pletschaka scored their first points of the meeting at the expense of Hans Weber when the race reached a premature conclusion and the German was disqualified.
Ja, da wurde natürlich der Lauf jetzt aus Sicherheitsgründen abgebrochen. Sie sehen es hier auf der Startzielgeraden.
As Franz Zorn dropped his first points in round 3, Daniil Ivanov moved clear at the top of the standings. 3 Russian contenders remained with just 1 dropped point, Dmitry Komentsevich slipping behind them after his Heat 11 defeat. Günther Bauer and Stefan Svensson were the main contenders for the final qualification place. A strong lineup for Heat 13 provided surprises at the start of round 4. Franz Zorn took the whole shot off gate 3, while Daniil Ivanov seemed to lack power and was relegated to the back. Dmitry Kozakov pursued and eventually passed Zorn on lap 2, but the Austrian rode well to keep back both Egor Mishkovets and Daniil Ivanov for second. Stefan Svensson increased the pressure on Günther Bauer in the battle for qualification with second place in Heat 14. The veteran Swede cut past Antiako at the end of lap 1 and picked up 2 points behind predictable race winner Dmitry Komentsevich. Igor Kononov booked his semi-final place with victory in Heat 15, and Ove Ledstrom kept his top 8 hopes alive with a strong defensive ride against Hans Weber. An alarming crash from first for Niklas Svensson in Heat 16 threatened his semi-final progression as he slipped to within a point of the drop zone at the end of the round. Günther Bauer failed to capitalise on an opportunity to move above the Swede as he was judged to have brought down Jan Kotowski in the restaging and found himself disqualified. The biggest surprise was reserved for the third attempt at Heat 16. Seemingly affected by his heavy impact, Jan Kotowski failed to hold first position after overhauling Stefan Pletschakar on lap 2. The German came back past on lap 3 to move from a 1-point tally to within a point of the semi-final cut-off as he became the day's first German Heat winner.
Dann wird das ein Dreier.
Non-scoring rides for Niklas Svensson and Günther Bauer enabled their rivals to close in on the top 8 positions. Meanwhile, the usual top 6 had confirmed their qualification places for the semi-finals with a ride to spare. Franz Zorn's impressive heat record continued as he won Heat 17 to move on to 12 and provisionally top of the leaderboard. Stefan Svensson confirmed his progression with second place, while the 2 German riders battled over third. Stefan Pletschakar eventually getting the better of Max Niedermayer, but unable to make any further impact on the heat. Second position for Ove Ledstrom in Heat 18 left him waiting on the results of Niklas Svensson and Günther Bauer in the final 2 heats as he continued his late recovery towards the semi-finals. Igor Kononov suffered a second defeat of the day when his insistence on running the outside line cost him track position in Heat 19. Dmitry Kozakov finished top of the heat, scoring with 4 wins out of 5. Günther Bauer was left needing an unlikely race victory from Heat 20 after his round 4 disqualification, and the German was never in contention for the 3 points needed as he was overhauled on lap 2 by Egor Mishkovets. The Russian provided more entertainment as he stalked Hans Weber for second, eventually finding his way past on lap 3.
Komentsevich mit einem
Nicholas Svensson missed out on countback as a result of his Heat 16 disqualification, and Ove Ledstrom was the fortunate beneficiary as he took the final qualification place. A competitive battle for 8th position, with 6 riders eventually separated by only 2 points. The top 4 in the championship could be set to line up in the final once again, as they're split between the 2 semi-finals on day 2 in Berlin. Off the inside start position in the red helmet colour, it's Dmitry Koltakov. Gate 2 and alongside him in blue, it's Daniil Ivanov. Gate 3 in white, it's Egor Mishkovets. Got the better of Ivanov during the heats, he'll be the spoiler here. And Stefan Svensson goes off the outside gate in yellow. Good start off gates 2 and 4. It's Ivanov and Svensson who gets there first. The Swede is the early race leader, but he's pushed back to second by Daniil Ivanov. Ivanov leads it then, Svensson in second, Koltakov in third. Mishkovets moving straight to the outside line. Wants to do his work from the back as ever. Svensson is going to have his hands full here, but if he can hold on to second position, he'll become the first European to make a final in 2016. The veteran Swede holds second place. This is probably his best ride of the season so far. Oh, Koltakov's gone down! A heavy impact into the bales on the pits turn. And Dmitry Koltakov just losing it going into bend 3, another victim of the rough track surface here in Berlin. 3 riders only for the restaging of the first semi-final. Ivanov, Mishkovets and Svensson. Take 2 for the first semi-final. Not such a good start from Stefan Svensson this time. It's Daniil Ivanov who gets there first, and Egor Mishkovets is in a provisional qualification position. Looks over his shoulder, sees that Stefan Svensson is behind him. The Swede backs out of it into the top turn, hoping to cut back coming off turn 4, but bobbled mid-bend and dropped back from Egor Mishkovets, who holds second place. Svensson favouring the inside, Mishkovets looking wide. This is the main race, the main battle of the heat, because it looks as though Daniil Ivanov, who's already taken 10 wins in 12 races so far this weekend, is going to add another. He's well clear out in front in this first semi-final. Egor Mishkovets in second position, got the better of Ivanov during the heats. Dropped only a point from his opening 3 rides, but he's tailed off since then. He'll be happy enough to make the final at the expense of Stefan Svensson. Consistency got him through to the semi-finals, but he's only going to add a point to his heat point total in this, the first semi-final. Down the back straight then for the final time, it's Daniil Ivanov who leads them around the pits turn to secure his place in the final. Egor Mishkovets will take second, and third place will go to Stefan Svensson. Unfortunate for the Swede, and a bit of luck there for Egor Mishkovets, who was at the back in the first staging when the race was stopped, but who capitalised on a second opportunity to make a better start and qualify alongside Daniil Ivanov. So it's Stefan Svensson and Dmitry Koltakov who are eliminated, Daniil Ivanov and Egor Mishkovets who take a place in the final. The second semi-final off the inside start position in red, it's Igor Kononov. 2 race wins from 7 rides yesterday. It's been a stronger effort today. Gate 2 in the blue helmet colour, it's Dmitry Kometsevich, tied with Igor Kononov on championship points and heat points here today. Gate 3 in the white helmet colour, it's Franz Zorn, and Ove Ledstrom completes the lineup off the outside gate in yellow. Good start from Franz Zorn off gate number 3, but it's Dmitry Kometsevich who gets there first, moves Zorn aside, coming out of turn 2, and the Austrian will have to battle hard to get back ahead of Igor Kononov. The Russian tracked on the inside line as Zorn tries to power around him and has done well at the end of the opening lap to get across the front of Igor Kononov back into turn 1. So it's Kometsevich who leads it from Zorn in second. He's about to get muscled aside here by Igor Kononov, but Kometsevich holds back Kononov and ends up allowing Franz Zorn back into second place. Bunching here in the first 3 positions. Again, a strong performance from European riders, just as Stefan Svensson put up a good attack last time out. Franz Zorn looks set to become the first European to make it through to a final in 2016. The Austrian in second place. Kometsevich losing control there coming out of turn 4. Igor Kononov looking for the inside. Franz Zorn will cover it off. He's going to run slightly wider coming out of turn 2. Igor Kononov will try to pull alongside. Zorn snapping a tail off as he comes down the back straight. He's backed off heavily going into turn 3. Kononov switches to the outside. He's going to run all the way around, and that's a vital ride from Igor Kononov to snatch second away from Franz Zorn and take a vital place in the final. Great race there in the second semi-final with Igor Kononov pulling off a vital move on the final 2 turns. He'd been trapped on the inside all race with Franz Zorn getting the better line, but Kononov moves through at the finish. A A second opportunity for Daniil Ivanov to take the lead of the championship. If he can win the final here, he goes off gate number 3 in the white helmet colour. Off the inside start position in red, it's Dmitry Kometsevic, winner in 2 of 5 2016 finals. Gate 2 alongside him, it's Igor Kononov. Really had to bust a gut there to make it to the final. Gate 2 presents him with a real opportunity to spring a surprise though. Both semi-finals were won from the gate 2 position. Gate 3 with Daniil Ivanov missed out on the final bend last night after a crash, looking to make amends this afternoon. And Egor Mishkovets, looking for his first career podium, goes off the outside gate in yellow. Fast starts off the inside 3 gates. Ivanov has made the best one. Will try to come around the outside of Dmitry Kometsevic. Igor Kononov goes for the cutback and passes 2 riders in one move to hit the front. So it's Kononov in front from Kometsevic in second. Ivanov seemed more concerned about looking over his shoulder on the opening lap than about attacking forward. And he hits a rut going back into turns 1 and 2 there and is sent wide. Looking over his shoulder once again, sees that he's comfortably ahead of Egor Mishkovets and now feels bold enough to make an attack on Dmitry Kometsevic. Kometsevic holding second position. Ivanov looking back to the outside once again. Kometsevic favours the inside. Igor Kononov starting to lose ground here on Dmitry Kometsevic in second, but the main race at the moment is over that second position. Kometsevic losing speed there on the inside line, but again, Ivanov not quite close enough to challenge, and into the final stages, it looks as though these podium positions are settled. Egor Mishkovets far from convincing since the season opener. He was fortunate to make it through to the final, but he's not going to make an impression in this one. It's Igor Kononov who takes the checkered flag. Dmitry Kometsevic in second and Daniil Ivanov in third. The podium finishers here in Berlin as Igor Kononov makes it back to the top step of the podium and reignites his championship challenge. A real opportunity presented to the riders here today in the absence of Dmitry Koltakov in the final, and it's Igor Kononov who capitalises with victory in Berlin. Dmitry Koltakov's semi-final fall costing him 5 points to meeting winner Igor Kononov and to runner-up Dmitry Kometsevic. Beaten in just 2 races, Daniil Ivanov also gains ground on rival Koltakov. Of course, it's a world championship, so you have to fight every day for every point. The championship will go to the end, so we're fighting harder. There are a lot of guys at the moment on the same points, and the fight will go on this way to the end. This weekend has been very good for me. I've scored plenty of points that are all very important. But we still have some way to go, and we're all so close together on points that it will definitely be an exciting finish to the season. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my mechanics who've made sure everything works so well. Of course, we're going in the right direction, but the fight is becoming harder and harder. This weekend shows how many guys there are riding well enough to beat anyone. It's good for everyone if it's open until the end, and we can all fight to the end. I think Assen will give us a good idea as to who will be world champion. 2 strong days for Dmitry Kometsevic bring him back into the title race, while Igor Kononov gains late ground in Berlin to challenge leader Dmitry Koltakov. Just 2 points separate the top 4 riders, with 2 rounds remaining and everything to play for in Assen next time out.
Vor allen Dingen heute.